Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors. Welcome back to Shark Scrapper Live, where every week on Sunday we talk about things that are going on in the precious metals market, industrial metals market, stocks and companies revolving around our industry, and otherwise just what's going on. It is great to be here. It's great to be back from Vid Summit. Man, I tell you what, it was a busy week. So, great to see y'all. JCT, that's right, recycling. Roger, hey, Roger, you'll notice you got the hammer today. Y'all, Roger's moderating for us today, so don't make his job difficult, because otherwise he's going to put the Roger hammer down on you. That's right, recycling. Bush Dog Scrapper, great to see you. JR Cat, great to see you here. E-Waste Mike, Bush Dog. Okay, I think I got everybody. Man, it's awesome to see everybody again, and what's going on. A lot of comments already about the weather getting cooler all of a sudden. Yeah, it got cooler here in Florida too. We woke up this morning to high 50s, and it's only going to get up to the low 70s today. So, yep, I would say that the autumn is here and winter is not too far behind. Scorpion Metals, great to have you here. So a couple of things, just real quick, housekeeping note. Scrapping Irish will not be going live today. He will not be following up here. He's down with COVID. So we're wishing Scrapping Irish all the best for a quick recovery, but he will not be up today. So let's see. Scorpion Metal says it's feeling great out. Yeah, I imagine for y'all, that's, this is what you expect to have up there, right? And I bet the leaves are starting to turn too. Hopefully it's going to be a pretty fall for y'all up there. All right, well, we're going to dive right in with our discussion of precious metals. We're starting out with gold. So as you know, I use the APMEX website for their charts to talk about what's going on with our precious metals. I am not sponsored by APMEX. I don't get any money from them, but they are one of the companies that I have used to trade my physical gold and silver. And that's the only way that I prefer to invest in gold and silver, is through the physical products, whether they be rounds or bars. And APMEX, it's very easy, no drama. I like doing business with them. All right, so we can see that on the 24-hour chart, gold is trending up, which is nice. We like to see that, but we want to see it for more than 24 hours, don't we? So let's see, 3-day chart. We've got a nice jump here back in the end of the 3-day chart, and I'm a little bit worried that this might be due to yet another level of unrest in the world with the attack on Israel now. So, when things like that happen, sometimes investors get nervous and they will go to gold. But as we know, there's a larger picture at play with gold. Here's the 1 week, and we can see that gold is down, although it is trying to pick up right here at the end of the week. And if we look at the 1 month, we see that gold is down, very clearly down. The 3-month gold is down. Year to date, we thought we were going to get some recovery, but it's been trending down now. And the real story here is the U.S. dollar and interest rates. So interest rates going up, dollar doing well. It's very easy for people to make 5% or more on bank CDs and things that are relatively safe and liquid. So that tends to hurt gold. So right now, gold is going down. Now, if you're, depending upon your perspective on these things, you might see this as a buying opportunity. We look at the year, we see that gold is generally trended up for the year, 8.3%. So a little dip in gold out here gives us a buying opportunity. Of course, in the long run, folks have always said that gold tends to be a good place to put a hedge on inflation and such. So at some point, if you're interested in diversifying your portfolio and you want something like gold or silver, you're going to want to buy some of those physical assets. And here you go. Here we're going back to the mid 90s, and we can see that gold has its ups and downs, but it has almost always over the long term gone up. So sometimes you got to be patient. Sometimes you got to be patient with gold because, like we saw this drop off here, but overall gold does pretty well in the long haul. So that's right. Recycling is saying, okay, can you loan me some gold money? Oh man. So let's see. Bush Dog says, always seems like I'm broke when the dips happen. Isn't that the case? What is it with that? What is it with, because I feel the same way. It's like there's a dip, it's a great buying opportunity, and I don't have the liquid cash to do it. That's just wrong. There's Murphy's Law at play here somewhere. Something going on there, right? Urban Prospector, welcome, delivering packages and listening while I work. All right, well, be careful, man. Don't drop off package to the wrong place, man. Daniel Houston is coming in the show. Yep. Wait a minute. What do you mean here? Came in right as Shark was saying who wasn't going to be in. Oh, Scrapping Irish. Scrapping Irish will not be joining us. He's down with COVID. All right. So gold, yeah. The challenge for us, of course, when we see these when we see gold kind of trending down like this in a longer term trend, it causes the people that buy our e-waste, like boardsort.com, to lower what they're paying. At some point, when we see this kind of recovery, they may bring their prices back up again. But remember, now this is really important with BoardSort, places like BoardSort, and in general, our scrapyards in general. Remember, they have to look 3, 4, 5 months down the line. So when they sell stuff, they may say a truckload, a semi-truck full of circuit boards, and they ship that off. It could be 3, 4 months before they get paid. So they're not exactly sure how much they're going to get paid. They have, they've negotiated some contracts and things like that. But, when that load of boards gets sampled and tested, then the people they're selling them to may adjust based on the quality of the boards and such. So they need to see, being a place like boardsort.com, the people that buy e-waste, they need to see some pretty reasonable and steady increases in gold prices before they can afford and take the risk to pay us more for our scrap. So that's why we want to see gold trend up and be steady. Well, be steadily trending up. All right. So, you know what, Mike? I think that's a very good point. Some of you may recall it was just about a week ago when Scrapping Irish and Mr. Matthews met at a pub. Yep, I think you may be onto something there. I think you may be onto something. And what else do we have going on here? Patrick, welcome. Great to see you, ma'am. And Daniel's wishing his best to Scrapping Irish. Well, Bush Dog, if it had been that, then I think he would have recovered much quicker, right? I mean, that like only takes a day or so to get through the hangover. Oh, man. All right. Well, hey, speaking of kind of speaking of recovering from hangovers and things like that. Today's safety note is hydration. And I know that you may be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, we're coming out of summer. The temperatures are cooling down. Why do I need to worry about hydration? Well, it's very easy for us to remember to stay hydrated during the summer. We're hot, we're sweating. Our body is telling us drink more fluid because we can literally see the fluid coming out of our bodies. But when it is cooler, your body is still sweating. It's just evaporating. And you may not realize, you may not think about the fact that you still need to stay hydrated. You're cooler, you're not as uncomfortable, you may not be as parched. So you may not think about drinking water as much as you would on a really hot day. So as we move into the cooler weather, keep in the back of your mind, you still need to stay hydrated. So make sure that you are still drinking, however much water you are comfortable normally drinking. There's places out there that say you should drink eight glasses of water a day. Our bodies tend to tell us when we need water if we're paying attention, right? If you start getting dehydrated, you probably get a headache. You'll start feeling kind of, your pee gets really dark. You want to make sure that you're listening to your body and you're drinking water throughout the day. Other things that you can, use for hydration, of course, fruit juices. Just be careful how much sugar is in those things. There are drinks like Body Armor and Gatorade and those kind of things that claim to have electrolytes and such that are good for you, which reminds me of the movie Idiocracy. Electrolytes are good. Electrolytes. Anyway, just be careful when you drink those kind of drinks because they can have a lot of sugar in them, and that's not good for you either. So you want to make sure you're being careful with what it is you're drinking to stay hydrated. Bush dogs, stay hydrated even in the colder months. Absolutely, man. Remember, coffee, like any of the sodas that have caffeine in them, can actually cause you to dehydrate more. So coffee isn't necessarily hydrating, even though I drink a lot of it. So the other thing is, we get a lot of water and fluids through the things we eat too. So if you're eating a lot of your veggies and fruits and stuff, there's going to be a lot of fluids into your fresh fruits and vegetables that you're consuming, and your body will get a lot of fluids from that as well. Be careful with your fluid intake, and eat your fresh fruits and vegetables, and you'll be fine. Roger's making a point here. Be careful with Mountain Dew and Red Bull. That caffeine will dehydrate you. Absolutely. I tell you what, I can remember my younger days when I was studying for finals, and I'd be putting instant coffee in my Mountain Dew so I could get more caffeine. Somehow or another, I managed to live through all of that. Not quite sure how, but you definitely want to be careful with that. And then any of those power drinks, any of that power drink stuff, you got to be really careful because sometimes they really pack in a lot of caffeine in those things. Watch out for that. And that Rights Recycling saying watermelon, man, absolutely. I tell you what, my wife absolutely loved watermelon. We've had some great watermelons here this summer, and she's really enjoying being able to eat the watermelon. And it works really good for I think a lot of you know that she had cancer last year and her head was radiated. I jokingly refer to her as Chernobyl head, but one of the side effects is that it has really killed a lot of her salivary glands. So she is constantly either sipping on water or eating watermelon in order just to keep moisture and stuff in her mouth and throat. So watermelon is a great source for that. And Bush Dog says, yeah, watermelon's the best. I agree. I love watermelon. All righty. Well, enough about hydration. Although, hey, if y'all want to drop comments about things that you have found that are good sources of hydration, other than water, but if you have found something that you like to drink, because hey, let's face it, we all like to have a little flavor in what we drink. So, I like Body Armor. That's a real good drink to have. It's mostly fruit juices and it's sweetened with guava. So it's not as bad, refined sugar kind of stuff. Still sugary, but a little more natural for us. So if you have a favorite hydration go-to, go ahead, drop a comment down below. I'd love to see what you use. And boy, I think water and watermelon are probably going to be at the top of the list because they're both coming in strong here. All right, we are going to head on over to our industrial metals discussion now. And hey, make sure y'all let me know if we have any issues with our audio. One of the things I did while I was at Vid Summit was meet with the folks from StreamYard and talk with them about some of the stuff that's gone on with my audio. And they are doing some testing back at their lab to simulate what I've experienced and how we can try to, if there's something that they're missing somewhere. So absolutely let me know, because I'm trying a little something new with the spreadsheets near the end of the video. So we're going to see if that makes a difference. And we'll talk more about Vid Summit a little bit later. All right, so copper, going over to copper now. This 24-hour chart for copper gives us hope. Let's see, there's a story in every piece of land. I'm not interested in the advertising here, so hopefully it'll let me kill the advertising here in a minute. But hey, Kitco's got to make their money too. Kitco is another one of the companies that I use for buying and selling physical gold and silver, but Kitco also digs into the base metals more than APMEX does, so I like using Kitco charts as well. Here we're looking at the 24-hour spot price for copper, and we can see that has gone up, and we're up at that 3.5646, so love it when we see copper prices going up. But when you go here and you look at the 30-day trend, it came up, but man, look at this drop. For the last 30 days, it's just been going down and down. And so a little bit of a rise here, that's not going to make a huge difference. Yeah, we want to see it keep going up, but right now we're just not seeing a huge difference. Let's hope it keeps going up. We look at the 60-day and we see that, yeah, here's, overall we're down, and here's our last 30 going down. So here is our 6-month copper spot, which is overall down. And the only good news here is you can see these lower limits. We've got support at these lower limits here around 3, 5, 8-ish or so. So that's nice, because because it tends to bounce off of that and come back up again, bounced off, come back up again. But we really want to see copper rebounding more than that. What's going on with the inventories? Well, if we look at the London Metal Exchange 30-day, we see the inventory was picking up pretty steadily, and it looks like it's starting to flatten out here. So that's good, right? Because if the inventory starts to flatten out, at least the prices will be somewhat more stable. Here we see 60-day London Metal Exchange warehouse stock levels increasing. As the stocks increase, the prices are going to go down. So it's very frustrating for us. Here we saw, this is the 6-month London Metal Exchange. Here were the stock levels increasing, and that's why we've had this run of price decreases. It had they had been consuming some, and we had talked about this a while back, and then they started building up the stocks again. And here's the 1 year. We're seeing that for the year, the inventory levels have actually picked up quite a bit more for the 1 year than when we started. So they're putting more copper back in inventory than we've used for the year. And here's the 5 year, where we can see this is a noticeable increase in stock levels, which is going to cause prices to keep going down. Of course, we've talked about this a few times, but it's worth repeating why we're seeing this go on. And the challenge that we are dealing with as scrappers is, of course, we're beholden to the global economy for what happens with the price of the things that drive what we get paid. In copper, there's two major things going on. We've talked about these, the two competing super cycles. The one that had been driving copper prices and is still the major influence on copper prices is the Chinese economy. China was consuming massive amounts of copper, whether it was for building their own infrastructure or building the stuff that they're shipping out all over the world. They were consuming a lot of copper. And their economy just hasn't come back the way people were expecting it to. So that's driving down the price of copper and increasing or allowing stock levels to pick up because it's just not getting consumed very fast. Now, the next super cycle, the next thing that could drive the price of copper is the electrification of the world. So copper is one of the best metals for moving electrons around. And that would suggest to us and investors all over the place that copper prices will eventually start to climb back up again as copper starts being consumed for electrification activities. Well, the challenge there is that when companies are making things and the engineers are told to find a way to reduce costs, they try to find substitutes. And we've all seen this. We joke about Chinesium when we're scrapping motors. We've all seen aluminum being used more and more and more in electric motors. And so there are people out there, there's engineers out there that are trying to understand, trying to figure out where they can substitute aluminum for copper. And we'll see what else they decide to try to substitute. But you've got this push and pull going on right now between what is referred to as the Chinese super cycle based on the Chinese economy and the future electrification of our planet that is only just starting. And I personally believe that we are going to see copper prices rise again because the other piece of this is it's harder and harder to mine virgin copper, and that is that is going to contribute to what makes what we do as recyclers even more important. I still truly believe that we will see the copper market rebound. So the approach that I take, and I've said this many times, and I'll continue to hold this position for a while, I'm sure, is that I am holding back a strategic reserve of my better grade copper, Bear Bright, number one, and then I'm selling lower grades of copper and copper bearing material in order to satisfy my cash flow needs. So my number two insulated copper wire, depending upon where you're located, maybe that's your low grade insulated or your 45%, 35%, whatever your yards, however they go about classifying insulated copper wire. You sell all that stuff in order to keep your cash flow going. And when you get the good quality copper, you keep that for when the prices really start to come back up again. And then you're going to be in a good position. Of course, you get in that place where it's like, oh man, how much higher will it go? How much higher will it go? How much higher will it go? So you do want to think about when are you going to sell? Because, deciding when you're going to sell is a good trip. It's a tripwire that you need to have just so that you're aware. Otherwise, you'll just wait until copper prices go all the way up and peak, and then you've lost money again. So make sure you're thinking about that. All right. So let's see. Roger is asking, don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but do you ever do any commodity futures trading? No, I do not. Certainly not in the classic sense of on the market commodities trading, the trading places, pork bellies, orange juice challenge, things like that. No, I don't do any of that. Now, in a way, all of us in the scrapping world are kind of trading on commodities futures because we're making decisions every day what we're going to hold and what we're going to sell. But other than that, no, I don't trade any commodities in the classic sense of commodities trading. Stocks are about as risky as I get, and you know how conservative I am with those. That's right. Recycling says his grandfather left him some stocks. Oh, that's a good way to get some stocks because he probably got them when they were relatively inexpensive. So you might have some value there. You need to check into that. Make sure you know what kind of value you have and what's going on with those. And you'll also want to check and see if those stocks were set up to automatically reinvest dividends to increase their value for you. So that's something you want to look into. That's right, recycling. And JCT says he's going solar. That's going to be. I really need to spend some time meeting with some of the solar people and get a better handle on what's going to happen in the solar world as solar panels need to be recycled, and that infrastructure starts to age and needs some attention as well. I'm looking forward to learning more about what the possibilities are with solar and what we can do with solar. Scorpion Metals is going to start grinding number 2 copper wires. All right. I assume then you're talking about maybe getting a granulator so that you can get it to take up less space after you separate the copper from the plastic. Not exactly sure what you're getting at there, but drop some more information for us. We'd love to know what's going on. Mr. Matthews, good evening, sir. Yes. So when you have no space left, or you could be like Ian and just keep moving things around to make more space. By the way, Mr. Matthews, you may not have been in when I mentioned that Scrapping Irish is not going to go live tonight. He's down with COVID, so we will not see him, and he will not be coming up after this one. Anthony is saying, hey, Shark, I do the same as you. I feel the price will rise in the spring. Okay. Yeah, that'll be nice to see if we can get some spring rise on the copper. That'll be good. So, and let's see, we got any other comments on copper here? Okay, so yes, just picked up a commercial grinder. Okay, cool. I'm assuming we're going to see some videos on that. That'll be interesting to see and learn more about what the plan is as you all move forward with that. That'd be great. That would be great. Anthony is saying futures trading is too dangerous for a novice. Man, isn't that the truth? It's too dangerous for people that know what they're doing, much less novices. I mean, you can get taken to the cleaners on that if you're not careful, and I mean taken to the cleaners. So yeah, you absolutely got to be careful and take your time. If you're going to go down that road, man, you really want to learn it before you start going down that road. Mr. Matthews, I have to admit, there were some folks who, there were some folks who commented that it seems odd that Scrapping Irish met you about a week or so ago and is now in the hospital, or he's not in the hospital. Didn't mean that, but he's now sick. So what gives, man? What'd you do? Did you infect Mr. Irish with something while y'all were together? Daniel saying very interested in the granulator idea. Yeah, very interested in that. So yeah, keep us posted on that one. We're looking forward to it. And Ian is saying, yeah, we should. That's wrong. That is just wrong. Oh man. Oh, I'm not even sure where to go from that one, man. That's just wrong on so many levels. All right, so it's time to talk about our business note for the week, and I thought that it would be an appropriate thing to address the issue of investing in yourself as a business note. So what do I mean by investing in yourself? So last week I went to Vid Summit. Now, not an inexpensive thing to do. Bought the ticket over a year ago, had to fly out to Dallas, Texas, had to put myself up in a hotel for the week. So, it's a reasonable chunk of money that's spent. But I did it because when I'm at Vid Summit, I am around 2,000 plus YouTube creators, mostly YouTube creators. And I get to meet people and talk with people about the things that they're doing, that they're experimenting with, that they're trying to be better at YouTube, to be better video creators, to be better storytellers. I get to see the people that are coming out with the technologies and things like the cameras and the apps and the software and the lighting and those kind of things. And I get to attend seminars that talk about every aspect of the YouTube creation journey. So it is an investment in my future and what I'm going to do as a YouTube creator. There are a lot of other things that we do to invest in ourselves that don't necessarily have to cost money, but always cost some element of time. So, for instance, we might look at YouTube videos to learn how to scrap something out more efficiently, or to better understand the values that are inside of the thing we're going to scrap out. If we're business owners, and some of us are business owners, we will be watching videos or listening to podcasts about business-related aspects, taxes and licenses and investing in equipment and the trade-offs in buy versus sell kind of decisions, and getting smart on those things before we commit to actually spending money on those things. Even as a hobbyist, you will, and you probably are, investing your time into researching things before you try new stuff. Probably a major element of our niche, our scrapping recycling niche, is sharing how we have scrapped things out so that we can learn from each other in how to scrap something out better, where the value might be hidden down inside of something. Is it worth the time to scrap it out, or should you just sell it the way it is? What's the trade-off that you're making there? It is an investment in yourself, and anytime we can make investments in ourselves, we're doing well, and we should be making regular investments in ourselves. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to pay to take a course or to go to a seminar. There's a lot of stuff that you can pick up online for free But there is the aspect of, if you paid for it, you're probably going to pay more attention. You're probably going to work harder at it because you forked up some bucks for it. And it's human nature for us to appreciate the things that we have spent money on more than the stuff that's available for free, which is really weird because there's so much great information and knowledge that's available to get for free, right? So yeah, it's investing in ourselves is very, very important. And I highly encourage everyone, whether you're doing this as a hobby or you're doing this as a business, to make sure that you are consciously setting aside time every week or every other week to learn, to educate yourself, to get more skills, to invest in you. So very, very important. I really can't emphasize enough, how much better we all can be if we invest in ourselves and then apply the things that we learn in our daily lives. And of course, it doesn't have to just be about scrapping, recycling, right? There's lots of things that we can invest in ourselves that will make us smarter, stronger, healthier kind of people. So invest in yourself, have a plan for investing in yourself, and just keep moving forward with that. Very few of us understand everything that there is to know out there, but we're all smart enough to figure it out with a little bit of help. So, and let's see. Mr. Matthews is saying that he spent 3 hours trying to use a thumbnail creator. He gave up and he let YouTube choose. And then he has a follow-up comment. On the other side, you spend hours trying to use substandard free programs. So, Ian, there's there's a lot to unpack in those two comments right there. Thumbnails are a very important part of our video, right? When the thumbnail is intended to stop the scroll, whether somebody is, on their phone and they're just flipping through, deciding what they're going to look at, or they're on their computer and it comes up on the screen, you want to catch their attention. Your thumbnail and your title your thumbnail will stop the scroll, get their attention. The title will cause them to decide, do I want to click and go in to see that video? And now the first part of that video, the hook is what will keep them there. So that very important aspects. And there's a lot of people that will spend a lot of time on their thumbnail. And one of the things that I learned at VidSummit is the amount of time that some of the larger video creators, Mr. Beast and those level people will spend on just a thumbnail. And of course, a lot of those larger channels, they have people that are experts in graphic design and how to lay things out to capture our eye, what colors blend best with each other, those sorts of things, whether you use a face or not a face. But for those of us that don't have that kind of investment, we can still get better at making thumbnails. We all can do a little bit of experimenting with what seems to work better, what doesn't work better. We can all try to capture the essence of the video a little better in the thumbnail. You just keep trying new twists to it and trying to put those things together and see what works for you. You'll get better at it. It was funny that one of the things that Mr. Beast talked about at VidSummit was they have figured out now that the facial expression, they've differentiated which of his facial expressions captures more attention than other facial expressions. And that shocked kind of look that you see frequently, that doesn't do as good as just a genuine smile, apparently, according, at least for Mr. Beast, on his statistics. So that's the kind of thing that all of us just should play around with. What really captures the attention of the viewer. And of course, you don't want to clickbait, you don't want to lie, you don't want to scam people into clicking on your video, because what will happen then is they'll leave really quickly because they'll say, wait a minute, that's not what this video is about. And then they're gone, and that's not good for you either. So a good, genuine attempt to make an attractive thumbnail that captures someone's attention and addresses the subject of what the video about is going to go a long way. You don't have to be a graphics art expert. You don't have to spend a lot of money on apps and stuff like that in order to be able to do that. Now, on your comment about the free apps, what you're saying right here, hey, you get what you pay for, right? So, and a lot of times what companies do is they tease you with the free app so that you'll say, well, what more can I do? And then you'll be willing to spend the money to get the value of the paid program. So, you know, I mean, I admit I pay for some apps. I pay for stuff from a company called TechSmith. Camtasia and Snagit are apps that I use that allow me to edit videos, screen capture things. They're great programs. They cost money, but they're very flexible. They're very easy to use. There's a lot that I can do with them. Some people like Adobe, and you know, boy, if you want to really crush your brain trying to learn an extremely good tool, Adobe's it. Adobe's expensive, and it takes a lot of brain power to figure it out and get the most out of it. You don't have to necessarily spend that kind of money. There are other programs out there that you can use. Some are free, some have some cost, but you don't have to break the bank with the apps that you use. But again, you get what you pay for. So, you know, if you're using the free apps, just understand you're not going to get as much bang out of it as you would something that you've paid some money for, but you also don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get perfectly good apps that allow you to do some really good stuff. And then, of course, once you get those apps, if you spend time learning how to use them, then they're even more valuable for you because they have a lot of stuff that's packed into those things that you can take advantage of when you're doing things like making your thumbnails and editing your videos and creating stuff. So a lot of interesting stuff there. Oh, let's see. What do we got here? Jake Hudson came in. Hey, Jake, great to see you. I'm catching up with some comments here. So Scrap It All. I think I said hi to Scrap It All. If not, I apologize. Hey, Scrap It All. Oh, let's see. Bush Dog is saying that he loves making thumbnails for his videos. You know, I have a lot of fun doing that too. I really do. It's enjoyable for me, Bush Dog. And I love editing videos too. So I love the whole aspect, right? I love capturing the videos. I love recording the stuff. When I'm recording things, you know, thinking to myself, how's this going to come over? Are folks going to like this? Is there another angle I should use? And then when I'm editing the videos, trying to put stuff together and you know, so that it's fun for people. I don't want it to just be purely educational. I want it to be entertainment, have some fun to it, you know, and so I just have a lot of fun editing the videos. And you know, then when it comes time to do the thumbnails, man, it's just like, okay, I want to, you know, what's going to tell the story of this without getting so busy on the screen that nobody has any idea what I'm talking about, or, you know, that it's a lot of fun. It really can be a lot of fun. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, it's less about work and just more about having some fun with what you're doing. And let's see. And Bush Dog says that doing social video content is a never-ending learning process. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, whether it's the learning how to make the videos, record the videos, to do that better, or just the material that you're covering itself. It truly is a never-ending thing, and very enjoyable too. You know, I really enjoy this, and you can tell when people are having fun with what they're doing. Roger saying when he had a laser engraver, he had Corel, and it was good. Adobe is the standard, though. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very true. Bush Dog saying editing and filming are his favorite parts. Yep. You know, and what's interesting, Bush Dog, I met some folks at Vid Summit, and for a lot of the content that's out there, people plan out their videos ahead of time. So, you know, they pick a subject. We're going to talk about whatever it is that subject's going to be, and they can storyboard what they want to do. They know what shot sequences they want, the angles they want, the stills, the B-roll. They can develop a script. I mean, it's amazing some of the effort that some people go into putting in their videos. Now, most of us right here, those of you in the chat, myself included, we have no idea what we're going to shoot the day we shoot, right? Because, I mean, street scrapping. I get up in the morning and the truck is empty. And I'm going to drive around for a few hours putting stuff in the back of the truck, and I have no idea what's going to go in the back of the truck. You can't plan that video. You don't know what's going to happen with that video. It's just going to happen. Now, the closest that I can come to planning or laying out something is when I'm going to take apart a specific computer. But even then, I don't know I'm going to open that computer and find a wasp nest inside of there, or somebody has upgraded it. So I don't, you know, it's all different than what the standard would be. Even then, things can change. About the closest that I do come to the actual sort of rigorous planning of a video is the series that I do on board identification. So when I'm going to do one of those board identification videos, I will communicate with Chris at boardsort.com a few times. We'll go over the aspects of identifying the boards, what to look for, what not to look for, what the differentiators are, what the outliers are. Then I'm going through the inventory of boards that I have so that I can get shots that will explain what we're talking about. Or I will set aside equipment or gear that I can use. So, for instance, my video on Friday for the high grade, low grade telecom boards. When I found that piece of telecom equipment, I put it aside because I knew I was going to do that video, and I knew that I was going to need that for the material. So then I had conversations with Chris, sort of mapped out where I was going, but I still hadn't pulled the boards out of that thing. So I still didn't know what was going to be in that. I just had a good idea that because of the kind of thing that it was, you know, a high-end Lucent Technologies telecom device, that there was going to be telecom boards in there. So there's still a certain amount of, we're not quite sure how this is going to play out as we start shooting. And then I have to fix it and accommodate things when I'm editing the video to be able to make that a cogent video that helps people to understand how to identify those kind of boards. But for most of us, when we're scrapping things, you know, it's like we have a good idea what's going to happen. We know, or, you know, how we're going to do it, but we don't always know how it's going to play out. And so that's what I think makes our content, our niche, so interesting, is the way things just sort of play out today. when we're recording that we either hadn't expected, or it's like, oh, well, okay, we're going to adjust for that. So Electronic Scrapper says, never tried to make a thumbnail, not sure to even how to choose one. We can talk about that at some point, Electronic Scrapper, if you want. There's you know, you can just let YouTube pick the thumbnail for you. You can create them. You know, if you want to drop me a line sometime and ask some questions, and we can go into that in a bit more detail if you want. Happy to talk about that. Maybe even at some point in the future, if y'all want me to, we can do a live stream and talk about it. But there's lots of people out there that talk about those kind of things, and I'm certainly no expert at it. So as much as I love talking about it, I certainly don't consider myself an expert at it. So JCT's favorite app apparently is the Dunkin' Donut app. Yeah, I can see where that could be a good one. Roger said he learned today that he needs to buy a microphone to do voiceovers. Wanted to do it on today's video and just thought, yeah. You know, like a lot of laptop computers will have built-in microphones because they are frequently used for, you know, video connects, but yeah, you probably do need a microphone. I'll tell you what, Roger, I will see. I've been giving away a lot of stuff lately, but let me check, Roger. Send me an email, remind me, and I'll see if I have a microphone here that I can send you. It's a little bit, you know, we'll have to see how that plays out, because sometimes the microphones, you have to have some, you know, some software to make them work right. But let me see what I got, see if I can't get something out to you to help you out there. Bush Dog, a year ago when I started the channel, I knew absolutely nothing about this stuff. I've learned a lot, mostly from everyone in the scrapping community. Thank you. Oh man, you know, Bush Dog, that's what I love about this community. Everybody is willing to help each other. I learned originally from E-Waste Ben. Man, I learned, you know, I learned a ton from E-Waste Ben. It was actually E-Waste Ben who convinced me to start this channel. So it's such a great community of people that share what they, you know, what they're learning and how to go after stuff. So yeah, man, I hear you. And we've all been there, right? We all started somewhere, and grown from there. So Ian Matthews is in the same place. He needs to do voice. He needs to learn how to do voiceovers. Yeah, yeah. And there was some discussion at Vid Summit about a new some changes that YouTube is going to make for the phone, for your mobile part of YouTube, that should make that easier. Probably going to be coming out in the next year or so. So keep an eye out for that. So they're going to try to make it a little easier for folks that are on the mobile app to do that kind of stuff. Let's see. Bush Dog is saying there's always the issue with if the object is going to give you grief, and that's, will it happen on, you know, chances are it seems like if it's going to give you grief, it's going to happen, you know, on film, and you're not going to realize until you have to get halfway in the video. It's like, you know, that one screw that just won't come out, that, you know, or, you know, who knows what, right? I mean, but then again, that can be half the fun of what we do. And it's funny because when I see folks scrapping stuff down and you know, I see them run into those, you know, a challenge or a problem or a, hey, wait a minute, how do I get at this or something like that? It's like, yeah, been there, done that. Maybe not that exact thing, but you know, that feeling of, oh man, really? I'm trying to make a video here and I can't figure out how to get at this one screw that I need to, or something like that. Happens all the time. Nothing ever goes as planned when you turn the video camera on. Absolutely, Roger. You know, when I was in the military, I learned from Colin Powell that the best plan only survives until first contact with the enemy. And it's the same thing with our videos in this niche. It's like you can have the best plan in the world for a video, and as soon as you turn that camera on, that's like hitting the enemy, and you never know what's going to happen. Electronic Scrapper says, I do try to plan out any of the refining videos. Yep. Getting over a speech impediment to actually speak in the past few years was a hurdle to overcome. Not to mention, we always sound weird to ourselves. Very true. Very true. We always sound weird. And I tell you what, kudos to you, sir, for working to get over your speech impediment, being brave enough to come up on video. You know, having a speech impediment can cause a lot of people to not let themselves out there, to not take that risk. Because let's face it, there are mean people out there that will make fun of someone's speech impediment. And that's just wrong on so many levels. You know, I mean, I've known a number of people that had speech impediments, or they were dyslexic, or any number of things that can cause them challenge. And one of the worst things is that frequently folks will think you're not as smart as you really are, because maybe you have a stutter, or maybe there's something about the way you vocalize that they will, you know, just sometimes people interpret that as you're not as smart as what you are. And that's just so wrong. I saw this when I was in the Navy traveling all over the world, and I would be working with people whose English was their second language. And because it was their second language, they would not sound as refined. They would not use perhaps as sophisticated a word or a complete meaning, or they would struggle to find the right word. But yet these were PhDs, and these were great military planners and senior officers, or, you name it. So that's when we need to look at ourselves and say, don't judge this person for the way they sound. There's probably a lot more going on in that brain than behind what we hear. So, yep. Let's see, what do we got here? JCT is saying I froze when the alligator was looking at me. I'm assuming the alligator was the camera. Oh. Scrap Father, Scrap Son says YouTube always finds a way to get a nice shot of my butt. Never knew you could choose a thumbnail either. Yeah, you can absolutely. I mean, you can make your own thumbnail. You can, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. YouTube will have, we'll have 3, and you can pick one of those 3. But you can also create your own thumbnails, and there's lots of videos out there on how to create your own thumbnails, and how to make a good one or a bad one, of those kind of things. So oh well, that's funny. I've also noticed that thumbnails change. People can change their thumbnails. So yes, it is not at all, well, let me rephrase that. What some creators will do is they will put up their video, and they'll have a thumbnail that they've chosen. And if the video doesn't perform quickly or the way they think it should, they'll change the thumbnail to something that they hope will grab people a little bit better. Another thing that's happening, I learned this at Vid Summit. YouTube is starting to roll out, and it's going to take about a year or so to roll out to everybody. So they're rolling it out in groups of people at a time. It's going to be called ABC testing or A/B testing. But what will happen is you will be able to put up 3 thumbnails, and then YouTube is going to test those thumbnails. And so you, the viewer, might see that video, and then when you come back a day or 2 later, it'll have a different thumbnail, because the creator looked at the numbers from the ABC testing that YouTube did, and they said, oh, that thumbnail is outperforming these other 2 thumbnails, so I'm going to do that. There's also an app out there called TubeBuddy that many people use. And TubeBuddy also has that testing feature in it, where creators can put up 2 thumbnails, and TubeBuddy can use a combination of artificial intelligence and testing to suggest that one will perform better than the other. So that's out there as well. Ian says he's usually choosing a screenshot. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's very common. Bush Dog is saying, I could tear stuff apart, but I've got the video making side. Well, I could tear stuff apart, but I've the video making side while scrapping. Yeah. And you know what the other thing is, when you are making a video about a subject, it takes a lot longer to make that video, right? So, we can knock out, a standard PC that isn't all rusted up and nasty. Most of us can knock those out in 5-10 minutes, maybe, but when you're recording it to do a video, you might spend a half an hour taking that one computer apart. So yeah, it's there's that additional time that's caused by actually recording something. So Grandpa, welcome. Great to have you here, man. Great to have you here. Enjoying the comments. Lots of good stuff here. Let's see. YouTube create for editing shorts, but in America, yeah, they're rolling out some editing tools for shorts. And there was some discussion of that rollout as well. I don't do a lot of work on my iPhone, on my phone for editing or creating stuff. So I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what was going on for the mobile app. So I don't have a whole lot of information for you on that one. Bush Dog, it can completely ruin the mood of the video. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Oh, man. Yeah, Bush Dog says he wants to start a Patreon just for all of his cutscenes. There are some folks that do that, right? Their blooper reel. There's certainly a lot of folks that have done blooper reels. I mean, even the big name, things, right? You see those blooper reels from, you name the TV series that's out there that people love watching the bloopers. It's funny. Electronic Scrapper says that, Ian Matthews is saying to Electronic Scrapper, he can't even speak English proper, and he's English, and then I'm American, so, I'm destroying the language. So yeah, that's a very good point there, Ian. Let's see, Bush Doss, if I'm going to scrap something for a video, I like to have multiple of the same items. That can help a lot. I tell you what, man, I have literally lost entire videos because I had one of something and I went to scrap it out and I wasn't paying attention to where the camera was focused, and it was trash. It was garbage because the camera wasn't looking right at the item, or it was, or it didn't record properly. Just something weird happens, and now that's gone. And I have to hope I find another one of those items. So it is nice when you can find multiple of something, because that way you can take one or two of them apart ahead of time and understand what you're dealing with, so that when you're recording, you can make a more efficient and informed video. Now, of course, there's a certain amount of fun in taking something apart for the very first time on camera. You're putting yourself out there, and it's like, okay, we're diving into this, and we have never touched one of these before in our lives, so don't know what's going to happen. That's a whole nother kind of fun video to make as well. So yeah, I get it there, man. I get it. And of course, when we're doing these things and we have something we've never scrapped before, and we get to a point where we just can't make it work any longer, there's always the armor that we can just go for it, right? Oh, man. Oh, my gracious. Let's see. I tell you, it's funny. I'm at these lots of good comments here. I'm sure you all are seeing them. Here I am trying to catch up with the comments. I'm way behind here, guys. I apologize. I know there's been a lot going on here. Yeah, well, YouTube is loosening up on the foul language thing, so eventually you might be able to get through on that one. Oh man, that's funny. That is funny. All right, so and Daniel Houston is saying he's been known to invent a few Dr. Seuss words himself. Yes, I hear you, man. I hear you. Don't we all, right? It's just trying to think of something to say instead of an F-bomb or something like that. It's it can be interesting. We used to when I was in the Navy and we'd go away on a deployment. And we would, as we were headed back home, we would start the cuss jar. And so the idea was we wanted to stop cussing as much so that when we got home, we weren't just, one F-bomb after another when we got back with our families. So the idea behind the cuss jar was that every time you said a cuss word during the watch, you had to throw in a nickel or quarter, dime, whatever. So, and then when we had enough money in the jar, somebody would go buy sodas for everybody on the watch. So it's like the first day that the jar would be out there, we'd be throwing in nickels and we'd be cussing so much that we'd have to buy the watch team, sodas 4 times by the time the 4-hour watch was over. And then you'd slowly graduate putting dimes and then quarters because you'd be cutting back on the number of cuss words. And finally, by like a week before we're pulling into home port, we could go 3 or 4 shifts before we had enough money to be able to buy a round of sodas for everybody. So that's you've got to actually make yourself think about not reverting to what's easy to say. And that's why we cuss, right? It's easy for us to cuss because we don't have to think of the right thing or the correct thing or a real word that would take the place of the cuss word. Now, of course, that's a little bit different from smashing your thumb with a omer and you cuss because your mind has gone bonkers from, that immediate little bit of pain. That's a very different kind of cussing than we just get frustrated and don't know what to say, so we just throw in an F-bomb. Which always, and that's what's frustrating for me. I don't care that people cuss. What bothers me is when I'm having a conversation and every other word is a cuss word because they're just not taking the time to think about what's the right word to say. So, all right, enough of that. Let us now talk about our 2 stocks for today. Hang on, I got to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Oh man, almost blew up my head on that one. All right, so we got. All right, Ian, take care, man. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, Scrapping Irish will be better by next week, and we'll be able to see you back over on Irish's stream next week. All right, so we're going to get over and talk about our scraps. Now, I've done our stocks. Yeah, stocks. So I've done something a little bit different that the folks from StreamYard asked me to test out. So let me know how the audio works here as we go over to the spreadsheet because I need to give them some feedback for their testing as well. So the first stock that we are going to talk about today is, and I know that everybody has some strong opinions about this, Stanley Black Decker. I know there are some of you out there that like Stanley Black Decker. I know there's some of you that hate Stanley Black Decker and everywhere in between. But remember, we're not talking about these stocks other than from an investment perspective. Hey, Earl, great to have you here, man. So from a investment perspective, when we look at Stanley Black Decker, we see that their yield is 3.9%. Now, right now, you could go out, depending upon where you live, you could probably get the bank to give you 5+% on a certificate of deposit or something of that nature. So 3.9 isn't great, but over the long haul, you have some advantages with a stock that you wouldn't have in a bank type of investment, in that the price that you're paying for the stock can also rise. So when you go sell that stock later on, you will have earned money from the stock, and then when you sell it, you get more money when it sells. Of course, it can go the other direction too, and the price can drop and you lose money. So those are the risks associated with stocks that make them harder to choose. But what I like about Stanley Black & Decker is this is a pretty reasonable interest, 3.9%. I'm always looking for something that's around 4+%. So this is very close. And this was as of the 6th of October. This is very recent data from the Value Line Investment Survey. We have a valid price on this. So here's the price that you would pay, $83.68 to buy a share of Stanley Black & Decker. So, $84 a share. That's not terrible. It might be a little bit high price for some folks, but that's not a bad price buying into a stock like this. And what we can see is that they are qualified as a Div 0. So that means they had 0 hits. What do I mean by hits? If you're new to the channel, you may not be aware of this. I look back for the last 17 years, and what I want a stock to do is increase either their cash flow per share, their earnings per share, or their dividends per share for every one of those 17 years. I'm willing to give them a hit, let them have one hit where, they were flat or they were down, but I want to see that coming up every year. And Stanley Black & Decker satisfies that criteria. If we look at that graphically, what we can see is right here. Now they took a hit going down here, and we're kind of like, what is that all about? And if we go up here, we should see, yep, there's those numbers right there. So what I like about, as many of you know that I get this information from the Value Line Investment Survey. They don't take any advertising. It's all just subscription based. So it's just straight numbers and analysis of the numbers. Basically what they were saying was that the company had a net loss of 11 cents a share, but their second quarter was better than expected. And their performance is tempered by the challenging macro environment, which continues to have a detrimental impact on consumer demand. Okay, yeah, all right. And they're starting to get their supply chain and production runs figured out, which is what was causing them some challenges. Now, meanwhile, the company is in the midst of a global cost reduction program. So they're trying to make things a little less pricey. So they've rolled out some initiatives to generate cost savings through reorganization, reducing inventory, things like that, that you and I, we're probably not going to notice any of that, but for a large company, that can be helpful for them. The other thing that they're saying is that accounts with a long-term bias, buy and hold people, may find this an attractive entry point. At this quotation, Stanley Black & Decker offers alluring capital appreciation. That's that price increase. When they say capital appreciation, they're saying that this price here will continue to rise, and in 3 to 5 years from now, you should get more from it when you sell. Nevertheless, only risk-tolerant investors need apply, as much of the good news envisioned over that period is a little ill-defined. So what they're saying is, if you're not willing to take some risk with your investment portfolio, this may not be a good place for you to put your money. Now, the other company that we are going to look at is a favorite by a lot of people, whether the stock itself is a favorite or the products that they make are favorites, or things that you use a lot of. 3M, everybody knows the name and probably knows the history of 3M. So there's a very interesting story. There's something big that's going on with 3M that everybody needs to be aware of. So don't rush in there yet and buy stock in this. Now, we're looking over here. We see 6.3%. That's a pretty healthy dividend, right? 6.3%. And it's on a $94.79 share, so not an outrageous price to buy into a stock that is throwing off that kind of dividend, plus a name like 3M that people can, trust, and that that company has been doing the right thing for a long time. Plus, they are qualified as a Div 0. So 17 years of increasing dividends per share. We love to see that. But here's the thing that you want to take a look at. Look at this hit. Look at this hit in earnings and cash flow. And here it is. If we look at the differences, we see that they took this huge hit right here. All right. So what's up with this? Where is this coming from? This is really important to understand. They posted a steep loss for the June quarter because they had a record charge of $14.19 per share owing to the public water systems settlement. What are we talking about here? 3M agreed to pay $10.3 billion over a 13-year span to resolve a class action lawsuit surrounding the contamination of drinking water with PFAS, or forever chemicals, that were being leaked into water systems around the world. I think this was a global thing. They've also had another 24 cents per share loss due to other litigation expenses and some other special items. All right, so the article goes on to talk about the details of what that means, but the bottom line here is that the company took this hit, and they're going to be paying a lot of money to deal with what was going on with the PFAS. However, things should begin to pick up next year. Strategic business improvements ought to enable the company to remain in the black in 2024, while revenues rebound 3 to 5%. That said, next year's results will likely lag the 2022 results. They're also planning to spin off their healthcare unit, and that's going to have some impact on what happens to the company as well, which makes it a little bit risky one way or another for you all to think about. Basically what they're saying is that there's a bunch of unknowns right now with 3M. So while a lot of us like 3M, many people have 3M stock, and 3M is qualified as a Div 0. It is very, very important that you do your due diligence before you run out there and buy any 3M stock if you are so inclined to do so. Again, I am not a certified financial planner. I'm not an investment planner. I'm just sharing with you the things that I learned and the process that I use to decide what I'm going to invest in. So be very, very careful if you're thinking about 3M. Don't get me wrong, good stock, there's good interest, good dividend there, and there's some good long-term potential, but the ride might be a little shaky while they deal with what's going on with these forever chemicals that they're starting to pay the price for out there. So that's right, recycling. Take care, man. We'll see you later on. And Victor's Farming, we'll see you as well. Take care. So I don't know, anybody out there own Stanley? I saw somebody said that they own some Stanley. So anybody own Stanley or 3M? Who was it that says they own some Stanley? Homer's reluctant scrapper says that he owns some. So that's cool. I used to. I sold it a while back, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go back into it or not. At this point, I don't have any. Electronic Scrapper is saying that he's had several hundred shares of 3M for years. That's awesome, man. That is great. So you've been making some bank on the dividends, which is fantastic. That's a great way to do it. And that's the way I invest. I buy these dividend stocks and I just hold them and I set them up so that the dividends will automatically buy more dividends. So I don't have to do anything, and the portfolio keeps growing because every time they post a dividend, that dividend automatically buys some more shares, which means I am buying more shares when the price is up and less shares when the price is down. But I don't have to think about it; they just keep adding up. And then at some point, I can decide, whether or not I'm going to take that money out or what I'm going to do with it. But right now, it's just building up, which is cool. It's a great way to do it, and especially if you are, if you're not the kind of person that is going to be paying a lot of attention to your portfolio. You do your due diligence hard and fast on a select few companies. You invest in them and let the dividends keep growing that for you. And then you go in every now and then and just make sure that things are staying healthy for you. JR Cat says that his one fund has some 3M. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There was probably a lot of funds out there that 3M is a part of because they're such a good, strong name, because they do have some good dividends associated with them. That would make a lot of sense. Let's see if anybody else comes in with what they may have. While we're waiting for some more comments to come in on that, I just, if you have any questions about Vid Summit and what I may have picked up at Vid Summit, feel free to ask that as well. I know we're going longer than the hour that we normally do, but I'm trying to make up for Scrapping Irish being down with COVID and provide some more time for y'all and question and answers and things like that for you. So let me know if you have any questions about maybe things I heard about what's going on with YouTube, changes going on there, or just video creator issues in general. We talked about a lot of stuff already, things that are coming for the mobile platform, the stuff that's going on with the A/B testing that's going to be available here. So that's some interesting stuff. Hey, E-Waste Jill, great to see you here. And I tell you what, Vid Summit was a great experience. It was just so much fun to be around over 2,000 creators of all kinds of different channels. I'm always amazed by the different things that people do with their channels. And many of these channels are very successful. And, I scratch my head and I think to myself, really, that's just amazing to me that you can have a channel about that and that it's been successful. So, hey, JR Cat, thanks. You know what? So I'm glad that the audio quality, the audio stayed spot on. I didn't see any comments about the audio degrading. Unless I missed them. But when I was going in and out of that spreadsheet, none of you said that the audio was going wonky or bad again. So that's a very important piece of information that I will be sharing with the folks at StreamYard to help them troubleshoot what the issue was. You all may recall that when I would bring up an Excel spreadsheet, the video would get messed up. And you know what? Hang on. Let's do an experiment real quick. If y'all don't mind, I just want to test this real quick. I'm going to put this down, and we're going to do, this should be really interesting. This should be very interesting. All right, so right now, I'm bringing up, when we were talking about the stocks just a minute ago, I was using Google Sheets, not the Excel spreadsheets. So now I'm going to bring up the Excel spreadsheet itself, and I'm going to see if that changes or causes any audio problems. So I'm now bringing Excel spreadsheet to life. I'm going to bring up Stanley Decker, Stanley Black Decker, and I'm going to go over to the Excel spreadsheet. Now, let me know if, okay, your sound is going in and out again. All right, Bush Dog, thanks. Wow, that was a very important, okay, I'm going to kill this because I don't want to do, hang on. We're going back over here. Let me know if it clears up. Let me know if it clears up here. This has been a great experiment. Thank you all. Because when we were addressing it before, when on Google Sheets, we didn't have any trouble at all. But when I brought up Excel, it went bad. And now I'm just going to kill Excel altogether. We're getting rid of Excel. It's down. It's gone. So it should start to clear up here. Now, the audio should start to clear up now that I've shut down Excel. Yep, it was Excel. So this is one of the things that that they're going to, this was one of the things that I really enjoyed about VidSummit, because I got to meet some of the technical experts from StreamYard. I mean, they were at the conference, and I was able to spend a lot of time taking them through what we saw happen to my live streams. And they were, you know, it was a real brain teaser for them. But they want to understand it, because there's a lot of people that use Excel, and they really want to understand what the issue is. So what they think is happening is that, and I didn't realize this, but Excel, that application, when it comes up, it will sometimes use resources from the GPU in addition to the CPU. And so that can bog down then the live stream, because, you know, the live stream is very dependent on the GPU resources. So that's why they asked me to test out using Google Sheets, because the Google Sheets are not known to go after GPU assets. So we've just done a very important experiment that I will capture the information and send it on to the folks at StreamYard so that they can do their testing, because they're going to want to they want to understand this, because they want to make sure that they can, they want to see if there's anything that they can do within the StreamYard app to prevent this from happening. And if not, they want to be able to tell people what to expect, or to have a workaround or something of that nature. So very, very important experiment. Thank you all very much for putting up with that. That probably was annoying for you. But we have learned something very important that I will be passing on to StreamYard. Hey, Rafael, great to see you, man. Hey, Rafael, don't know if you were here at all before, but Scrapping Irish is not coming up today. He's down with COVID. So he's going to be out for a few days. Something's messed up now. Yeah, so once we brought up Excel, I don't know if it's quite let go of all the assets yet. So we may, you know, that's why we might still be having some leftover audio problems here. Daniel's saying, I bet if you had a StreamYard spreadsheet, it would be clear as a bell. StreamYard doesn't have spreadsheets. StreamYard is just the app that I do the live streaming through. But I was using Google Sheets before, and we didn't have any trouble. So it's about the resources that get used up off the. And Bushdog says we're still cutting out. Yeah, so I think once we had the Excel spreadsheet up, it messed up the. It's still hung up with some of those assets. So that is very frustrating. Very frustrating. But hey, we did a very important experiment here. So let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing, and we'll see if that helps to get things cleared up faster. So wait a minute. I'm not going anywhere. Hang on. I'm just going in here. I'm going to remove that. And we're going to stop that. So now I have completely stopped the screen sharing. So hopefully that'll help a little bit too. E-Way still just fast forwarding, and lips get back in sync with audio. Audio is fine again. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, this was very interesting. So it really does look like it's Excel that's causing the problem. And as you all know, I've been doing this for a year now, and it was fine up until about 3 months ago. So something happened 3 months ago, a BIOS update, a Windows update, an Excel update. Something happened 3 months ago that that caused a problem here. So I wish I was smart enough to do this kind of stuff, but the engineers at StreamYard are going to look into it and see if they can figure it out. And that was another one of the fun things about going to StreamYard, was meeting people from the technical side of applications that I use. So StreamYard was there, Camtasia, the TechSmith people were there, the folks that have Camtasia and Snagit that I use for editing my videos. I was able to talk with them, and they're sending me out some updates for testing that they're going to be rolling out. So that's kind of cool. So we'll see how that plays out. Got to meet some folks from YouTube and talk with them about stuff that's going on in YouTube. I don't know if any of you have heard the name Renee. He is the creator contact or liaison for YouTube. So his whole job at YouTube is to take a creator focus and help the people at YouTube understand what we're saying and our position on things and our position. And then he helps to translate the stuff that the YouTube engineers are talking about to us so that we understand what's coming out. So it was Renee Ritchie, great guy to meet. He used to be a YouTube creator just like us. He used to do these videos, and now YouTube hired him to act as a liaison between us creators and the YouTube technical brainiacs as they put stuff together. So that was kind of really interesting too. I met some amazing people out there. I met a couple, husband and wife team that I don't know if any of you have ever eaten Quest power bars, but they were the people that invented the Quest power bars. And they talked about how they grew that business and then sold it for $1 billion, $1 billion. And how, the part that YouTube played and social media played in growing their brand, and what they did with that. It's always interesting when you meet somebody that's worth $1 billion, isn't it? And it was just amazing. And they're just, down to earth, everyday, cool people. Then I met other folks that, were just getting started in their YouTube channel. They didn't even have a channel yet. They were just trying to figure out what they were going to do. Daniel, that's a great question. What was the most interesting other channel I met? I could ask all of you that same question. What is the weirdest or the most interesting channels that you watch and that that come up for you with when you're on YouTube? But let's see. The most interesting channel that I met while I was there. Oh, man, I met so many different folks doing so many interesting things. JR Cat, I think they got a bit more than $10. Hate to say, man, they got a bit more than $10. One of the interesting channels, it's hard to say what was the most interesting because there were so many new and unusual kind of channels there. But one of the really interesting channels I met, so they do mostly shorts, and they come up to you, and the interviewer hands you a red and a green flag, and then they ask you some questions, and then you raise a red or a green flag on what your position is on that. It's kind of like financial type questions that they're asking, and what they hope is that as young people see, they're very catchy, and they're younger people themselves, and they put some music to it, and they try to make it very upbeat, catchy kind of stuff, and they're hoping that it will cause younger people to think more about their financial decisions and that kind of stuff. They ask questions like, well, let's see, what did they ask me? You get married and your wife wants to merge bank accounts. Is that a green flag or a red flag? So I gave it a green flag. I said, yeah, we have our joint account that we use to cover joint expenses. But then she has her account and I have my account. That way we can buy each other gifts and not give away the surprise when we do that. Let's see, getting a student loan to get an MBA. And I said, well, I've got to put up a green flag because I have an MBA, but I didn't get a student loan for it. So, that led us into a discussion about using student loans to pay for college, the whole business of should you go to college. It was just, it's kind of a fun channel. Now, of course, they're condensing all of this into shorts. So, I don't know how they're going to turn that, the various things that they asked me into a 60-second short. I'm looking forward to seeing it pop up. But that should be kind of interesting. Let's see. What was another one? I don't know. I'll think about some other interesting channels that I bumped into. There's a jeweler, a guy named Patrick Adair, and he makes jewelry, and it's not your classic gold rings, that kind of stuff. He's using some materials that we think of as jewelry, right? Opals and that kind of stuff, but he's doing it in different ways to make different kind of jewelry, kind of odd kind of jewelry. Plus he's using materials. He uses some materials that are a little bit different than the classic jewelry materials. So I thought that was also very interesting, both from the perspective as a scrapper in the materials that they're using, and that he can almost make jewelry out of scraps that other people would throw away, which I thought was pretty interesting. So Patrick Adair, Patrick Adair Designs, I believe. So that was kind of interesting as well. Just, a new twist on the jewelry making side of things. Roger said he thought he was going to wake up a billionaire, but he matched 0 numbers in the barrel. Isn't that funny about playing the lottery? It's like, you almost don't want to check the numbers, right? Because if you don't check the numbers, then you're a winner until you hear about the news and they say somebody else won, and then you're not anymore. And so, yeah, that's always kind of, My wife and I play the lottery for entertainment. We don't ever expect to win anything, but it's fun to, go look at the card and see what we got, if we got anything at all. Um, I don't recommend the lottery as your investment plan. If it's fun for you to play the lottery, but don't ever expect to win anything from the lottery. And when you do, that's fine. I think the most I've ever won from the lottery was 100, somewhere around $100 or something like that. So yeah, it's and that's not that I'm $100 on the plus. I'm way in the red on the lot on playing lottery tickets, but that's just something my wife and I do for fun. And let's see, what was this? Was at the Paul Bunyan show yesterday, photobombing YouTube channels. Okay, cool. Yeah. Later on, Anthony, take care, man. Oh, you know what? This is big. This is something that I do want to talk about a little bit here. Artificial intelligence. There had to be 4 or 5 sessions about artificial intelligence and what's coming up in the world of artificial intelligence. And oh my God, it's scary. I mean, it's scary in both a fascinating, interesting way, and it's scary in what can happen. So one of the people that did a presentation, they invest in building and learning AI machines, right? So they're actually putting money into AI machines. And this guy showed us a clip of him talking, and you didn't realize until the clip was over, and he said, by the way, that's not me, that was AI. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, AI is getting so real that it's going to be scary. How to tell the difference between the real person and an AI person. We've seen, if you're looking at the news at all, you've probably seen, some kind of article about actors, the professional actors that have, expressed concerns about AI. Sometimes there's creative aspects to AI that are useful. I didn't realize this, but in a recent Tom Hanks movie, a man named Otto, AI was used to make him look younger for some of the parts of the movie. And, that was done with his cooperation. But there's also been a recent commercial that came out for toothpaste or something weird. I don't even remember what it was, where they used an AI generated Tom Hanks, and he did not give them permission. And so I think he's, going after them, suing them for, and we'll see how that plays out, because I think that's going to be really important for how we regulate AI in the future. I mean, it's one thing for an actor to say, okay, let's make me look younger for this timeline of the movie, or let's make me look like, make some superhero that has my features. That's a very different use than someone just stealing a person's likeness in order to bash them or lie about them or use them for a commercial without their permission. Then the other things that were really interesting that they talked about with AI, some of the creative aspects is like, I'm sure most of you have heard about Chat GPT, where you can go in and just say, give me a script or a video that talks about, what grasshoppers do when they get caught in a spider web or something like that. And, it can give you a script, and then you can go in and edit that, massage that script, and build a video around that. Well, now they're even getting to the point where they can build the video for you. They can do the whole thing for you. And they showed some samples of videos that were created off of nothing but a prompt. And so they gave it a prompt: smallest city in the world. and then the AI system created a video about the smallest city in the world, some little town in Europe or something like that. And it was amazing that all they did was type in smallest city in the world, and then they got this whole video. Now, the guy did say, look, it took a long time for the system to render this video, a long time. And, you know, that's one aspect of AI that is going to keep it out of some people's hands. But even we, all of us, can go into Chat GPT right now and get ideas for our videos, get a first cut at a script for our video. So there are things that even folks like us can do to use AI that's out there for free right now to mess around with our videos if we choose to. I don't know how we would use some of this stuff, maybe to help us do some of our research, maybe to help with the visualization of certain things. I don't know. But, you know, one of my takeaways from VidSummit was I'm going to need to pay more attention to AI, and I'm going to need to look at AI a little bit harder because it's here. It's not going away, and we're all going to have to figure out how to deal with it. So very, very interesting stuff, and some of it kind of scary. Roger's seen conversations with AI that take a very scary direction. Yeah, it could. It certainly could. Daniel's saying, I hope AI doesn't get cheap enough for home use. My wife would have. No comment, man. No comment. Because then who would you have, right? And it was also interesting because I got to speak to some of these folks after their presentations about AI, and other people were asking similar questions to mine, you know, about the morality and the ethics and the concerns. And, you know, unfortunately, some of these people, they're just really smart, and they are more concerned about the challenge of creating the capabilities of AI. And they're either being naive or willfully ignorant about the potential danger of AI. So I don't know how that one's going to play out. I really don't. But it's something we're all going to have to pay attention to. Bush Dog, thanks for a great live stream. Got to get going. All right, man. Take care. Oh, it's Thanksgiving in Canada. Oh, very cool. Well, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I hope it's a good one. Yeah, that was a big thing, AI, and what AI is going to do. You know, there's going to be some goods and bads, like anything with new technologies. There's going to be goods and bads that will come from AI being a part of our future. And the thing that I would encourage all of you to do is start looking into it, start, you know, understanding it and trying to educate yourself. You don't want to panic. You don't want to get afraid of it, but you do want to understand it because at some point we're all going to have to deal with it, and it's out there, right? So we need to know it. We need to understand it, whether we use it or not, whether there's a way for it to be a part of what we do in our niche, in our scrapping and recycling world. There are going to be aspects of AI that will benefit us. Then there's aspects of it that, you know, it's not going to be a thing for us. But in our lives in general, outside of what we do in our niche, AI is out there. And we're all going to have to be especially careful with what's out there. I mean, you all know that I don't like to talk politics, or the news on these channels because there's plenty of other places to do that. But you can imagine what unscrupulous people could do if they had the money to generate AI that puts out completely false, fake news. I mean, completely lying about something, or completely lying about a political opponent, or a country that they don't like, or a company they don't like. I mean, there's a lot of bad that could happen with AI if we're not careful. So really something that that we need to pay attention to. Electronic Scrapper says, Shark, I bet you could use a robot to scrap out all those computers and servers. I would love to have a robot that would do all of that. And you know, it's a different, there actually are, in a way, there's robots out there that do it, right? I'm sure you've seen the videos where they throw the entire PC on a belt and it goes through a shredder, and then they use magnets and eddy currents and optical sensors to separate the different elements of the. So that's kind of a robot in a sense, and that's how the big companies do it, so that there aren't humans necessarily taking each little piece apart. So yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough one. But it could, I mean, I also saw a presentation by a restaurant that was starting up that had no humans in the kitchen cooking the food. All of the food was prepared by robots. Now, it wasn't like a human looking robot. It was mechanical arms that were doing things and stuff that was moving around, but they were robots and they were cooking food, for goodness sake. Think about that. Think about that. Your food was prepared by Chef R2D2. Daniel says, thanks for extending the show to pick up the gap on scrapping Irish's benefit. I hope it gets better with that. Yeah, Daniel, my pleasure. I'm sure he's going to be fine. I've asked him to check in with me every day until he's better. Hopefully he'll be fully back in battery by next week. Think of gambling that would be fixed with AI. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Man. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Electronic Scrapper says he's currently working on a shredder for PCB boards to sell cheap enough for small-time scrappers like myself. Oh, very interesting. All right. Yeah. So let me see if I got that straight. You're going to design a shredder so that instead of me sending a box full of boards to Board Sort, I'm going to send him a box of shredded boards. Here's something to think about. This is, as you're doing this, one of the challenges that could come up with this is, let's say I send a box, a 40-pound box or a Gaylord box full of, 700 pounds of shredded boards to boardsort.com. And I tell them, don't worry, these were all high-grade telecom boards that I shredded. He's not going to have any way of knowing if those were all high-grade telecom boards. And he won't know until he sells that box to a refiner who will refine the material, assay what they get out of it, and tell him, yeah, there wasn't enough gold in there, so here's what we're paying you. And if he paid you for high-grade telecom, and the gold that came out of it was what they would have expected from, say, green motherboards, there's a challenge there. So, that has nothing to do with you designing the shredder, and everything to do with, will the home scrapper be able to shred boards and then sell them at a price similar to what they would get if they sold the actual board, so that the buyer can look at it and say, yes, that's what that is. Yeah, JR Cat, that does, but the XRF gun only tells you what's in the spot you're looking at, and so it's it's a little, you're not going to be able to get the average content of a full load like that. You have to do spot samples, and if it's all various pieces of board, a lot's going to depend on what the gun is looking at. So Yeah, this would be interesting. It would be interesting for the home scrapper how you would be able to sell shredded boards and how a business like BoardSort would price that out in order to protect themselves against someone either not knowing any better or someone purposely selling them lower grade material that's in the mix. And they have that challenge now, even buying regular boards. If they when they're buying a Gaylord size or a truckload of boards, it's very challenging for them to, they've got to stop and go through the box or the truck, and they've got to sample it and assess what they're going to pay for that. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. So you're saying your goal is mainly for low grade boards and the base metal content. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense, right? You're going to grind up all that stuff because what you're really going for is the copper, and that would be relatively easy. And you could sell that as, look, it's the low grade boards that I've ground up here. And that price should be something that a yard would be comfortable saying, okay, I'm going to, this is what I'm going to pay you. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Because right now those things are kind of expensive. I mean, I was looking at a ball mill system from MMBLC to smash up boards. And that's kind of expensive. Plus it required a bit of a footprint that I didn't have available at this point. That would be interesting. I look forward to seeing your progress on that. Let's see. Roger saying kind of like taking the medium out of catalytic converters. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly, Roger. And that's the stuff that scrapyards have to be careful of and pay attention to. Some people will do these things because they don't know any better and they're just making honest mistakes. Some people are unscrupulous and they do it on purpose, try to scam the person they're selling stuff to. So people that are in the business of running scrap yards and buying material, they've always got to be careful for these kind of things and try to understand the difference between the two. As Chris at BoardSort has told me many times, he's like, look, we can tell with pretty good clarity over time if a person is just making an honest mistake versus the person who's trying to get away with stuff. A lot of us have been dealing with Chris now for many years. Chris knows that if I put a board in there that, say I sell them a box of telecom high grade and they find something in there that shouldn't have been there, they know I just made a mistake. I'm not trying to get away with something. As opposed to the first time person or the second or third time person dealing business with them, and the bottom and the top of the box have high grade telecom, and then there's a whole bunch of green motherboard in between, and they're hoping that they won't notice. That's a difference. You gotta watch out for that. Question for electronic scrapper from Jill. Is it like the chains in a box or grinder, or think chains on a bit in a box that can be hooked up to a drill? Oh, interesting. Jill, he may not want to tell you because that may be his trade secret at this point. JR Cat's talking about the hammer mill. Yeah. And that's what I was looking at, the hammer mill from MMBLC. If you haven't watched that channel, it's a really cool channel, MMBLC. Anyway, they're a mining company, and you can buy the ball mills that they use. And he's done videos on using his ball mills, which were originally intended for grinding up ore that they're digging out of mines. But you can get them on a smaller scale, and they grind up PCB boards really well. It's interesting, that I may still do that too in Shark Cage 3.0. So we'll see what we do with that. Show. All right, everybody. Well, look, I think we are going ahead and call it a wrap. I know that if we were up on Scrapping Irish's stream, we'd probably still be going for another hour or so. But we're going to go ahead and call it a wrap here. I appreciate everybody that's been hanging out with me today. And we're all giving our best wishes to Scrapping Irish for a speedy recovery from the nasty COVID word. And he's going to check in with me every day, so I'll certainly let you all know if he takes a turn for the worse. But right now, he's just feeling like crap and needs to get a bunch of rest. So hopefully you all don't suffer from this latest strain that's out and about and causing problems for people. And take care of yourselves. Be careful. Do what you need to stay safe out there. I look forward to seeing all of you next week and throughout the week as you comment on the videos that are going out there. And I'm going to have to get busy putting some videos out there because I've been goofing off all week long at Vid Summit and not making any videos. So I'm going to need to get on the stick. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye now.